Hello, everybody, and welcome to Q&A USA, where we try to answer your questions about life in the real United States. And we don't have a lot of questions this week, so I'd certainly like to encourage you to go ahead and send in questions for next week. You can leave them in the comments section below. That's probably the easiest way. You can leave them on Facebook at our fan page. You can tweet them out to us at RealUSVlog on Twitter. Or, of course, you can email them to us at realunitedstatesvlog@gmail.com. However you want to get them to us, get us your questions so we can try and answer them. Our first question, though, comes to us from Ittori, our friend over in Germany at Eusebio 1957. How you doing, Ittori? And Ittori wants to know about how advanced the Obama healthcare reform, Obamacare, is. And by advanced, what Ittori's asking, as I understand it, is, how much progress has it made? Well, certainly it is nowhere near the socialized medicine that many other countries, including our neighbors to the north in Canada, have. This is not a socialized medicine society as of yet, and it doesn't seem like it's going to be anytime soon. So I don't think that it's made a huge amount of difference. Certainly a lot more people have become insured because health insurance has become compulsory in the United States. In other words, we now have a law that says thou shalt have medical insurance. Whether you like it or not, whether you use it or not, we are going to compel you to bet against yourself. So clearly I have some reservations about insurance in general and the healthcare reform in particular, but that's my personal feelings and really has no place here. So that's what I can tell you, is that it has not significantly changed our healthcare system in respect of making a socialized medicine program like you would find in Canada or Russia or Sweden, or I really don't know what it is in Germany, but we certainly don't have socialized medicine here yet. So I hope that answers your question. Okay, next question comes from one of our longtime viewers, and this is Z. Jorat, and I believe your first name is Zadia, and if I remember correctly, I see you've changed your channel name, and Zadia wants to know how we survive the winters in the East Coast here. I interpret that question to mean in adverse to the West Coast, which has a much more mild climate, certainly in the southern part of it, but much of the West Coast has a more mild climate than the East Coast because of currents that carry the weather patterns and whatnot. So the East Coast is a harsher winter on average than the West Coast. Well, we're now in the Washington, D.C. area, which is significantly further south and more temperate than lower peninsula, the central lower part of the lower peninsula of Michigan, where Beverly and I both were born and raised. And let me tell you, boy, howdy, we get some serious winters up there. So I guess we were probably conditioned from birth on up on how to survive the winters. And obviously you dress warm. In particular, I find that you've probably seen some of the episodes where I wear a long leather coat, and that is to block the wind, because certainly wind with carrying humidity will chill you quite quickly. So something to block the wind is ideal if you're going to spend a lot of time outdoors like Beverly and I do in the field when we're filming. And I know Bevs doesn't want me to do the end but I do need time to process this because I am working without a script. We do, of course, wear some hats and gloves, and I don't have as much problem with the cold as Beverly does, and that's just something that's inherent in different people. It's not a male-female thing, because I have a colleague at work who's a man and is very sensitive to the cold, and I've known many women who don't have any compunction with the cold whatsoever. So it's more just an individual thing. Some of us just are more naturally resistant to or oblivious to perhaps the cold than others. Beverly has to keep her ears covered in the cold weather or she'll get an earache right away quick. So if you see any behind the scenes footage this winter, you're going to notice Bev wearing a little hat with the thing that comes over ears. It's just adorable. And they've become quite fashionable here. So that's a good thing. Also, it's the amount of time that we're exposed out there. We usually try to keep that in the dead of winter in January, February. We try to keep that probably under an hour where we're outside at any one given stretch. But other than that, you just go on about life as normal. Obviously, you carry on some different activities than people in the southern climates like in Florida or Southern California and whatnot, where you can have beach activities and picnics and those sorts of things. In the winter, you move most of your activities indoors, unless you're bad crap crazy YouTubers like Beverly and I, in which case you've got to be outdoors to go ahead and film things. So bundle up, keep the exposure to no more than an hour, get warmed up. Once you've stored enough heat in your body, then you can go back out and give it another hour's worth of work. So filming in the winter is very difficult for us because we're fighting a lot of clouds. Obviously, there's more precipitation in the winter. We're fighting, so there's bad light, there's short hours, and there is a lot of cold, and it's tough. And Bez back there, yeah, it's hard on the equipment, not just the crew. It shortens your battery life on all your equipment, your recorders and your camera and all that. It's difficult moving the camera from a warm to a cold or a cold to a warm environment because you can get fog on the lens, you can get condensation in things. So you've got to do that rather slowly. You want to cool them down slowly, warm them up slowly so that you don't damage them. And so there's a lot of considerations, I guess, that we don't even really think about anymore, that we just go through the motions because we know this is how it's done. But yeah, if you're in terms of just surviving it, though, you move your activities indoors, and during the winter months, largely. Although there's a lot of people that go out and if you've seen our episode on snowmobiling, there's a lot of winter sports, and people just bundle up. Certainly here in the Washington, D.C. area, people go ice skating on the various skating rinks. We've certainly covered one of those in a previous episode, and over by the Smithsonian, where the big fountain is, there's skating on that in the winter. So you just bundle up. That's about it. And, well, again, because Beverly and I grew up in a much harsher environment than here, we have more experience in understanding how to drive on snow. I will say that people in the southern Maryland, northern Virginia, Washington, D.C. area are not perhaps the most adept at driving on snow because they don't have enough of it each year to be well experienced. And so if you are from an area where you're used to driving on snow and it snows here, it's best to stay home and let the crazies kill each other because it's just, they don't know what to do with snow. So, so that's it. There's nothing special about surviving winters here. It's just keeping warm. So our next question, speaking of climatic differences, comes from our buddy Joel Ben. Hey, Joel. He's down there in South Carolina, if I remember correctly. Yeah, South Carolina, in Columbia. And he had a question about our episode on the 59,000-pound Kugel ball in Richmond, Virginia, that we did here a few weeks ago. And he was wondering if the ball didn't absorb any of the water. Well, the answer is largely, I won't say none, because I'm not a geologist, but I can tell you that igneous rock, of course, is the most resistant to water absorption. Obviously, some rocks do absorb water. Sedimentary rock will absorb the most, and even metamorphic rock like marble will absorb a little bit. But igneous rock, like granite, largely impervious to water absorption. I won't say that it doesn't absorb any in some pores in the surface, but it's going to be negligible. So what statisticians would say essentially zero. You're going to lose a lot more just to evaporation in the atmosphere from it flowing out and over the sides around where the ball floats, or as it comes, it coats the ball. So as that thin coating of a molecule or two coating comes up over the ball, it's very thin and there's wind or whatever, it's up in the atmosphere, is going to evaporate, and you're going to lose a lot more water. There's no real absorption, though, to the physical sphere itself. So I hope that satisfactorily answers your question. Now, Joel's been away, and I'm sure many of you don't know this, unless you're, follow him on YouTube and on Facebook, and he's recently got married, and so he's been catching up. So he had another question for us, and he was wondering if, for these episodes here, we had stock backgrounds. Yes, we do. And for those of you that are thinking, well, yeah, it's a stock. Well, no, because a lot of people do have software and create custom backgrounds. These, in fact, I did not go to that effort. I was able to obtain stock backgrounds that I was able to download and use for this purpose. And we got several different ones. There's the one you see here, and I have one that I use on my other channel on Your Govnon Part. And we have a few extras like for using for opening, closing, those sorts of things, and some ones that I haven't used yet. We're going to try and experiment with what works best, but for right now, we're sticking with this one. It seems to work pretty good. And those usually are, the problem with them is that they're usually short clips. And so when you're making a relatively long video like this, you have to keep inserting it and inserting it on one track, so you have a continuous background while you're doing your green screen presentation. But yeah, they're out there, and there's lots of different ones. If you're interested in getting some, you just type in, Virtual Studio is the best one, or even better yet, free Virtual Studio, and a ton of them will come up, or free green screen studio or things like that. But Virtual Studio is what I used, and it turned up a lot of good hits. There's some very generous and wonderful people out there that are providing these, so check it out, and I think they're pretty nice. So that is all the questions we have, folks, for this week's Q&A USA. Again, if you've got questions about the real U.S., about life here, whatever, about Bev and I, please leave them in the comments section below, or email, Facebook, Twitter, however you want to get in touch with us. We'd be glad to try and answer your questions. I appreciate everybody's input. I hope you're enjoying this series on Q&A USA. We certainly enjoy doing it, and I'd like to keep it going. So thanks a lot, everybody. If you haven't already, I encourage you to pick subscribe and come along for the adventure. If you got questions, comments, criticisms, suggestions, recommendations, leave them in the comments section below. We try to get to everybody we can. And as always, thank you for watching.